Congress is the national legislature of the United States where elected representatives create, debate and pass laws. The structure of Congress is a bicameral system with the House of Representatives and the Senate that follow staggered election cycles and differing membership sizes. A bicameral nature is a two-chamber legislative structure, which is present in the U.S. Congress as seen when the 2023 Fiscal Responsibility Act had to be approved separately by both the House and the Senate before becoming law. The membership structure of Congress by noting that the House is based on population while the Senate provides equal state representation with 2 senators per state. The powers of Congress are broad legislative, financial and oversight responsibilities that shape federal governance. The powers that have been given to Congress by the Constitution are the authority to make laws, levy taxes, declare war, regulate commerce and control federal spending. Exclusive powers are responsibilities assigned solely to one chamber of Congress without shared authority. The exclusive powers that have been given to the House of Representatives are initiating revenue bills and bringing forward articles of impeachment. The exclusive powers that have been given to the Senate are confirming presidential appointments, approving treaties, and conducting impeachment trials. Concurrent powers are responsibilities that both chambers of Congress share equally. The concurrent powers that have been given to Congress are passing legislation, overriding presidential vetoes and amending the Constitution. The functions of Congress are representation, legislation, and oversight that collectively shape federal direction. Representation is the process where elected members act on behalf of their constituents' interests at the national level. Congressional elections are regular contests for seats in both chambers and affects the function of representation as shifting party control can alter whose interests dominate, shown when the 2022 midterms delivered a Republican House that changed legislative priorities. Incumbency is the electoral advantage enjoyed by current office holders and is significant as name recognition, fundraising strength, and constituent services boost re-election prospects, which affects the function of representation as it can entrench long-standing voices, shown when Senator Raphael Warnock won re-election in 2022 with strong incumbent advantages. The factors that affect voting behavior within Congress are parties and caucuses, constituency, pressure groups, and lobbyists. Parties and caucuses are organized groups that coordinate policy positions and voting patterns and affect the function of representation by encouraging unity, shown when Democrats in 2021 largely voted together to pass the American Rescue Plan. Constituency is the geographic population a member represents and affects the function of representation by shaping voting behavior to align with local priorities, shown when Midwestern legislators pushed for agricultural subsidies in the 2023 Farm Bill negotiations. Pressure groups and lobbyists are organized interests that attempt to influence legislative decisions and affect the function of representation by amplifying certain policy demands, shown when environmental groups lobbied members to support climate provisions in the 2022 Inflation Reduction Act. Legislation is the creation, amendment, and repeal of federal laws through formal congressional procedures. The legislative process in the U.S. is a multi-stage system where bills pass through committees, floor debates and votes in both chambers before presidential approval. The strengths of the U.S. legislative process are scrutiny, compromise and broad debate that help ensure careful lawmaking, shown when bipartisan cooperation produced the 2021 Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. However, the weaknesses of the U.S. legislative process are gridlock, slow negotiation, and partisan obstruction that hinder effective action, shown when repeated disputes in 2023 brought the federal government close to a shutdown. The differences between the legislative process in each chamber are the House's majoritarian rules and the Senate's extended debate procedures that shape lawmaking differently, shown when the Senate filibuster delayed immigration reform efforts in 2021 while the House passed its version swiftly. The policy significance of Congress is its ability to set national priorities, allocate funding and shape social and economic outcomes. Explain the impact and effectiveness of the laws passed by Congress by noting that major statutes can reshape national policy, shown when the CHIPS and Science Act of 2022 boosted domestic semiconductor investment. Oversight is the monitoring and investigation of the executive branch to ensure accountability and lawful conduct. The factors that influence the relationship between Congress and the presidency are party control, national events and political incentives, shown when divided government in 2023 led to clashes over the debt ceiling. The checks that Congress has over the presidency are powers such as impeachment, veto overrides and control of federal spending, shown when Congress limited presidential emergency spending plans during the 2021 budget cycle. The checks that Congress has over the judiciary are confirmation of judges, altering court jurisdiction and proposing constitutional amendments, shown when the Senate confirmed Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson in 2022. Congress is effective to a greater extent as it passes significant bipartisan legislation and fulfills its oversight role, shown when Congress strengthened veteran health care through the 2022 PACT Act. However, Congress is effective to a lesser extent as partisan division obstructs timely lawmaking and reduces policy coherence, shown when repeated speaker elections in 2023 stalled legislative progress. The interpretations and debates around Congress center on how effectively it fulfills its roles, exercises its powers and represents the diverse interests of the nation. The roles of Congress have changed over the last 10 years as it has taken a more proactive stance on economic security and industry regulation, which is important as it strengthens national resilience and legislative influence over long-term policy direction, and is shown in the 2022 CHIPS and Science Act that expanded federal support for domestic semiconductor production. The powers of Congress have changed over the last 10 years as it has asserted greater control over federal spending and executive decision-making, which is important as it shapes national fiscal stability and limits unilateral executive action, and is shown in the 2023 Fiscal Responsibility Act that introduced new borrowing caps and spending controls. Congress's representative role is adequate as members have increasingly championed constituent interests on major issues, shown when lawmakers from disaster-affected states secured substantial federal relief funding after the 2023 wildfires in Hawaii. Congress's representative role is not adequate as polarization can distance members from wider national interests, shown when partisan conflict in 2023 delayed progress on immigration reform despite broad public concern. Parties in Congress are significant as they coordinate voting, messaging and legislative priorities, shown when unified Democratic support enabled the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act in 2022. However, parties in Congress may not be significant as cross-party coalitions can still shape impactful outcomes, shown when bipartisan groups negotiated the 2021 Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. The powers outlined in the U.S. Constitution are significant and effective as they allow Congress to check the executive and uphold accountability, shown when Congress mandated greater oversight of defense spending in the 2023 National Defense Authorization Act. However, they are not significant and effective as partisan obstruction and institutional limits can prevent Congress from fully exercising its authority, shown when repeated filibusters in 2021 and 2022 blocked voting rights reform. Thank you for watching this video on the US Congress. I'll see you in the next one.